I still remember the first day I realized that being different made me a target. It wasn't because I looked strange or acted out of place, but because of something I had no control over: money, or rather, the lack of it. I grew up in a family that struggled to make ends meet, and the reality of our financial situation became glaringly obvious at school. I walked into my classroom that day with a sense of excitement, but I could already feel eyes glancing down at my shoes. They weren't the latest brand that everyone seemed to be wearing, but they were sturdy and clean, something I was proud of. My clothes were a little older, hand-me-downs from my older brother, but they were in good condition. At first, it was just a few whispers. "Look at his shoes," someone muttered. I tried to ignore it, focusing on my work. But then, the whispers turned into snickers, and soon, the cruel jokes began. It was never about my personality, my kindness, or my intelligence. Just the superficial things. Kids, for some reason, found joy in poking fun at the fact that I didn't have the latest clothes or the most expensive gadgets. Lunch was the hardest. While others would pull out their store-bought meals or boast about what new game they got over the weekend, I'd quietly unwrap a homemade sandwich. I didn't mind. My mom always made the best sandwiches. But to the bullies, that was another sign that I didn't fit in. "Is that all you're eating?" someone sneered one day, loud enough for the whole table to hear. I forced a smile and nodded, but inside my heart was racing. It wasn't the sandwich that was the problem, it was the constant reminder that I wasn't enough for them. I wasn't rich enough, popular enough, or cool enough. The days started blending into each other, each one filled with insults that chipped away at my confidence. But the hardest part wasn't the teasing itself, it was the isolation. People stopped sitting with me at lunch. They avoided me in the hallways. It was as if my poverty was contagious, something they didn't want to be associated with. I started spending more time alone, retreating into myself, unsure of how to change things. Yet, in all that pain, something inside me grew stronger. One afternoon, after a particularly rough day, I went home and found my mom, tired from work but smiling as always. She didn't know what I was going through, but I didn't want to burden her with it. I saw how hard she worked for everything we had, and I realized something important. The bullies didn't understand my strength. They saw poverty as a weakness, but in truth, it had made me resilient. The next day, I walked into school with a different mindset. The insults still came, but I stopped letting them cut so deep. When someone mocked my clothes, I shrugged it off. When they laughed at my old phone, I didn't care. I realized that their opinions didn't define me. My values did. I started focusing on my studies, pouring my energy into things that actually mattered to me. Over time, the bullies lost interest. I wasn't reacting the way they wanted, and they moved on to something else. Some of the people who once ignored me started talking to me again, but by then, I had learned a powerful lesson. I didn't need their approval to feel good about myself. What I went through taught me to value people for their kindness, not for their possessions. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. The experience shaped who I am today. It gave me empathy for others, strength to face challenges, and the understanding that true worth comes from within, not from the brand of shoes you wear or the latest gadget you own. In the end, being poor didn't make me less. It made me more.